Welcome to the Mad Love Your Life show. I'm Mary D, the Joy Catalyst, here to be your host and transformation guide. Mad Love is about the mad, making a difference, and love is what we serve up to live a delicious life. My intention is to help you spark new ideas, break limiting beliefs, and align with your deepest dreams and desires. Get ready for laughter, inspiration, and finding your inner roar in every show. Hi, everyone. Great to have you back. Great to have in studio today a true pioneer of true individual health and freedom. And I'm so excited to make this introduction. This is my good friend, Maria Whalen. She is transforming alternative and Western medicine worldwide. So you're going to want to listen. You're going to want to take some great notes, and you're going to love this. You're going to love the stories. You're going to love what we have to say today, and it could be life-changing. Just throwing that out there. For Maria, after battling back from near death and healing herself completely of so-called incurable diseases, Maria created her groundbreaking Invincible Wellness System. Maria reveals how to become your own doctor and gain complete control of your own health so you never become sick again. The Invincible Wellness System frees you from today's healthcare system, giving you complete and total independence. For many of you, there's probably so many of you who have looked to your doctors and healthcare specialists for things that they haven't even figured out yet. And perhaps you'll uncover what some of those things could possibly be and look like and learn how to gain control over those things. Maria is the figure that industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and titans of business turn to for having invincible health. So if health, freedom, liberation, and independence are important to you and you want to protect your greatest asset, which is you, then you must experience the powerful presentation by author, international speaker, and leader of the self-sufficiency movement, Maria Whalen. Maria, welcome to the show today. We're super excited to have you. And I'm just tickled to have you share your story with everyone for context. And then we're going to dive in because I mean, if we don't have our health and wellness, we don't have anything. It's the foundation of just being able to move and live in the world. So let's dive in. Tell everyone. Let's start with your story because I think people need context. So let's start with that.
Well, first of all, I need to say that I've known you for a long time, and I have to tell everybody, you are one of those people when you look at them and you go, nobody could be that happy all the time. And I've watched you through your challenges in life, everything. And you know what? That's really what I'm looking at. I look at those things. How are we during the hard times? And man, you still were the same joyful Mary D. And I remember watching you thinking, I help a lot of people through those situations, and there's very few people who still hold on to that choice of joy. And I just have to say, like, I've known you for so long, and this is it's a pleasure to get to do this with you finally. And, just the right timing, right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that reflection. I appreciate it. And y'all, if you're curious, if you didn't know, if this is maybe the first show you're hearing, I am a 6.5-year breast cancer survivor. And a lot was going on for me during the time of even going through breast cancer recovery. I was also getting sued. My dog died. It was very much a country song. And it was a lot. It's probably one of the most difficult, years of my life for sure. And I just learned, Maria, that moments of adversity, they just make us more of who we are. And they really, really show us who we are. And I recognized from that I'm definitely a fighter. I don't fawn, I don't freeze. So it was really interesting to like unpack just re-knowing myself through adversity and also just testing faith and also having great people in my life, healers and people like you who know that there are other ways and alternatives and there's other ways to do things, and that it's really important for all of us to do our homework, to ask good questions. And look, I love our doctors. I love that my plastic surgeon went in and did an amazing reconstruction. I'm also grateful that I didn't listen to the oncologist and I didn't go do chemotherapy or radiation because I really feel like it would have torn down my body. So that's my little disclaimer for everyone. And I'm going to turn it back over to you because I cannot
Yes.
wait to share you with all my people.
Thank you. My life has taken a lot of different turns. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and you don't even know about some of them. So it's kind of interesting to catch up through this vehicle
Yeah.
here. But yeah, I mean, I'll share my story because it's relevant, obviously, for why I got into what I'm doing. And interesting you say that about being a fighter, because I tell people all the time that if I can instill that in people, that fighter mentality, I believe that's like so critical to get through. We never know what life is going to throw us. You just got to have your gloves up and ready. Like, I was a competitive boxer when I was young, and so I always had that in me. And, when I built the Invincible Wellness System, it was birthed out of my experience with my own health. But really, the kicker was, how in the world could other people figure this out in time for whatever their situation is? We don't always have the luxury of 6 years to like try everything and navigate through the crazy space of holistic medicine. Western medicine's pretty clear. It's either a procedure or medication. There's not a whole lot, and testing. There's not really a whole component of healing. That's not what it's meant for. It has its place, right? So when it comes to wanting to heal yourself, that's one aspect, but that wasn't what drove me to do what I did. What drove me was, I want people to be as insanely independent with their health as I lived after I healed myself and put it all together. So, I mean, I made my program was really, really intensive in the sense that, like, I'm going all the way to teaching how to be your own dentist, how to set up your own pharmacy. I had, for 20 years, I've had an acute care line for like emergency style medicine. And my people are all over the world in every state. And so 24/7, that line is on. And doing it over the phone like that, you learn how to listen differently, so many things. And then, years later, now I'm the one who everybody comes to with the, I can't figure it out, I've tried everything. Or honestly, the biggest thing is, like, I have a lot of people who were in hospice or literally were given a couple weeks or a couple days to live. And I would always be the one that people would call because they knew I don't mind the challenge, but it's because it comes easy to me because I know what I know now. And so I've taken a lot of people from their deathbed and back. And it's very rewarding, but it wasn't really like what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so, really interesting, like, just the last 2 years have been one of those big mix-ups. I think everybody goes through these phases if you're an entrepreneur, right? After like 15 years, you kind of get the itch and you're like, is this what I want to continue doing forever? And like,
Right.
more.
Right.
But the really insane part about it is that holistic medicine is not something that you can really freely talk about online. So for my entire career, I never ever used social media. I never did
Mhm.
any kind of promotions. In fact, people like Les Brown, I went and stayed with him for a week and helped him with his health. And at the end of it, he leaned over to me and he said, in his, Les Brown, obviously, in his very way of personality, he does things. I can't explain Les Brown other than that. And he said, Maria, I need to shout your name from the rooftop. Where do you want me to do it? And I said, I don't want you to at all. And he just looked at me like he didn't even know what to say. And, Les isn't usually short of words. And I just said to him, Les, unfortunately, the nature of what I do is not something you want publicized. I don't want it publicized. So I really got sick of, after like 15, 17 years of this, of kind of having to kind of be very quiet underground. I never shared testimonials. I didn't do anything. I was 100% word of mouth.
Yep.
Says a lot. And
Yeah.
for years, the cost to do my program was between $30,000 and $50,000. So it wasn't for everybody. And it's a lot of work. And I really dedicated because I wanted to teach people and empower them so that they could never, like, it's not about just getting rid of your ailments and your diagnoses. That's what we focus on. But I
Yeah.
try to tell people, when you can focus on setting your body up to where I literally know by absolute for myself, I will never get a surprise diagnosis. Impossible.
Hmm.
And my kids, both of them, my 20, almost 20-year-old now, she's never had to go to a doctor. She's never been sick enough or sicker longer than a half a day because of the tools I have. That's saying a lot. I haven't been a sniffle in 25 years, like nada.
Incredible. It's
Nothing.
incredible. Yeah, considering we
Yeah,
just went through what 3 years of the vid, it's remarkable.
yeah.
It's really
And I
remarkable,
have a
and
huge audience, and everybody didn't blink an eye during that time
yeah,
because
yeah,
they know they're, that's the difference between being empowered and somebody giving you a protocol.
right, right.
When
I
you're
I rem
empowered, you know why you're doing it.
Absolutely. I remember so clearly being in my mind, what I said to myself is, if cancer didn't kill me for sure, this is not going to kill me. And I feel confident that my body is going to know exactly what to do in this time. And also
Yeah,
having great resources, like people like you in my life, it makes a difference because you know where you
huge.
can go to also bounce some questions off of to say, hey, like, what do you
Yeah,
think about what's happening right now? And I think that's important, and at the end of the day, I
yeah,
tell people, whatever you chose to do at the end of the day, like, do what brings you peace. And I hope that you'd ask lots of questions before you do something that you might be a little concerned isn't going to bring you peace. So there's that
yeah.
part too.
Or that's
Yeah.
permanent. Yeah, those are
Yes.
big
Yeah.
decisions. So it
They
is.
are. They are big.
I turn everything on its head. So it's really hard because, I don't have any of the traditional language that people use from holistic space either. And so it's been swimming uphill, like just literally swimming upstream the entire 17 years because of that. I mean, literally, I've had people promote me simply because of conversations I had with them. Like, I had one guy who was Tony Robbins' talent scout. And I remember meeting, we were at the top of this sky rise from an event, and he said, asked what I do. And I tell him, oh, I know so much about that stuff. I know everybody in the industry. And I was like, well, and he still had some ailments, right? Which was my pet peeve. I'm like, well, why do you still have those if you know all these people? You
Right.
shouldn't, right? That's like my,
Right.
and I said to him, I go, listen, and I will, in 3 minutes, I'll tell you 5 things you've never heard before. And he was like, listen, if you do that, I will promote you forever. Like, if you actually can do that. So I did. And then I promoted me forever. Right. So that's kind of how I built my business, is that. And I really believe that, like, if you don't know how to take somebody from their deathbed and back, you really shouldn't be messing with the body at all, because
Mm,
understanding how to interpret the body is a whole different ballgame. It's
totally.
not logic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that, and we also go through phases in life, right? Like, even as women, we go through having a regular cycle to having like a really wonky cycle and not knowing what's happening to our body again. We feel 12 years old again, like the hormones are suddenly like waking up again and doing something, which they are. And then also going into then, post menopause. And I think that that's also a piece. And we don't talk enough, I think, about what men go through as well, but they also definitely go through
For
phases and
sure.
hormones and things like that. And especially because today more prevalent are things like prostate cancer and breast cancer. And granted, we're also screening for it more, but it is really fascinating to see like what's showing up and
Yep.
how things have changed, and not always in great ways, right? And then can we medically keep up with these things? And so what happens is some of us end up going back to our roots, or we go and we look at ancient cultures, we look and to see, hey, like what are they doing? So curious to know, Maria, before you even started to understand this healing process and even come up with coursework and protocols for people, what would you say is like, what do you know now that you wish you had known before you even got started?
The health one is a hard question with that, because it only it catapulted my situation. So basically, like when I was a boxer, after that, there was about 10 years after that where the small symptoms that I ignore, right? Or like we didn't know what to do because listen, our culture is not health trained in any capacity, just
No.
basic information. You're not trained even how to assess ourselves as women and our cycles and all that. So, there's a big learning curve. Well, I started stacking my autoimmune diseases, right? And I
Mm.
had three rare autoimmune diseases by that time. And one, most experts, like literally, was going to the best of the best in the entire nation as far as that went, and under the categories of the autoimmunes I had. And one of them, half of them would be like, I don't even know anything about that one. Like
Mm.
it was kind of so rare. One of them, I'm the only person who had this nerve tumor. You can see it in my finger, but I don't want to flip you off. But I have,
It
I
just
had a
happens
nerve
to be in
tumor.
your middle finger.
I know. I laugh at that now. I'm like, I got you. I got you. Um, it was such a good communication for me. I was like, thank you. It gave me something to at the end be like, look at my finger. Um, but I'm the first person in the entire nation that had one in my finger. You're supposed to have them in your
Mm.
spine, and their
Oh, wow.
nerve tumors should be debilitating, right? Well, the last one was the one that got me the most, and I would send me into a coma like almost every other week. I'd go into this coma. I had gotten to the point where obviously it's very exhausting to go through the gamut of a million doctors, million tests, back and forth from the emergency room. I was really sick of it to the point where I was like, just let me be. And like, if I come out of it, I come out of it. If I don't, I don't. And then, long story, I'm going to tell this story a little bit quickly because I don't want to cry. It's not a crying makeup kind of day. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, crying is
I've
completely,
never in
completely allowed.
17 years told my story without crying. So I'm going to say it kind
Oh,
of
I love it.
callously. But basically, my doctor called me in. We have some test results. We got to go over with you. I'm like, wah, 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 right? I was like, what else could you possibly tell me that would be worse than what I've been dealing with? So I was going in there very like, okay, whatever, just say it. And he was like, sit down. Like, I really want to. He goes, I know this one's going to be harder for you. And I'm like, what could he possibly have to say at this
Right.
point? And basically, he knew that kind of my only, at that point in time in my life, not my only reason for living, but how important it was to me that I wanted to have children. And so he had told me, he put his hand on my arm even, and he said, I don't think you're ever going to be able to have children based on whatever
Mm.
XY thing. Well, I left there. I checked into a hotel, paid cash for 6 days because I really didn't want to be found and caught. And I
Mm.
was going to take my life. And that night,
Mm.
I got on my knees, and this is the part I cry. And so I'm going to say it quick. But I basically started saying goodbye to my family and my loved ones and kind of
Mm.
just doing it in my head, kind of weird, but I did. And I started seeing like my sister telling my nieces and my sister telling, everybody. I didn't have kids at the time, but telling everybody, that I was gone and that I had taken my life. And I started weeping from that, just like I'm pretty empathetic as it is. And I think I just started feeling what they would feel. And I actually had a counselor a long time after that say that, people don't
Mm.
realize that you increase the chance of your loved ones of committing suicide by 70% if you do.
If you do it,
And
that's right.
yeah, and so all of
Mm.
that just crashed on me. Ironically, I woke up in the morning and I remembered being really disoriented, and I was like, is this what heaven looks like? That was my first thought. I was like,
Yeah, it looks like the
I don't
inside of a
know.
Marriott. Why is that?
Right, exactly. I was like, I don't know if I wanted to sign up for that. And then I started realizing what happened, and I actually had gone through so much anguish that I ended up in a coma. And
Oh.
ironically, my coma ended up saving my life, right?
Mm.
But that morning, with that, realization, and you can't even begin to imagine the intensity of that, right? So like I had police coming to do the process and all that. Well, before
Mm.
anybody came, I didn't care about that. I was in such a zone of what the heck almost just happened. And in that moment, the old fighter in me came back. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't quit, you know? And in that moment, I said, look, what I've been doing up till now isn't working. And I'm going to do everything until I figure this out. It's just how it is. I'm going to figure it out. Well, I didn't really realize that actually, like, the body was, for me, was kind of like if you asked an artist, if you asked Van Gogh, how did you learn how to do that? They don't. It's just in them, right? Every
Right.
artist who's like really good at their art, they just see it. They just get it. They have eyes for it that we don't, maybe. And I started realizing that was really me. And I actually, had figured it all out. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to pre-med just to kind of say I did it, right? Check it off. My pre-med was the only school that does Western and holistic together.
Wow.
And it was actually very challenging because you had to like compete with yourself when you wrote papers. You had to do it from both perspectives. And it was the
Ooh.
greatest learning ever for that. For me, I really got to challenge myself and go, how well, are you set on these, right? Well, what
Right.
happened was all my alternative medicine classes, professors started reaching out to me about their own health issues, and like something I
Mhm.
said in class, like, hey, you got this. I ended up having one of my peer reviewed papers become peer reviewed in the whole school journal on thyroid. And I was like, and I hate writing, so it was a big deal. I was like, what? And I was like, I started realizing they were proving exactly what I experienced when I tried to heal myself. And that's this, is that when you don't operate the body as a system, because our body doesn't do anything by itself anywhere, there's nothing. You get what I'm saying? Like, but
Mhm.
yet, Western medicine's kind of business model is ailment diagnosis, and then we
Right.
go procedure, what to do.
Right.
Holistic medicine does the same game. And they do like, what's your ailment? What's your diagnosis? And then we treat it with supplements or, some kind of, you know, whatever, cryotherapy, right?
Puncture.
Type
Right.
machine. Right, exactly.
Right.
And I was like, that what everybody who's ever come to me in 20 years says the same thing I used to experience, where you'd be like, I'm so confused now. I've been to everybody. I've tried everything. Can you all get together, have dinner, and like put your information together for me specifically, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we know things like, oh, I listen to my body, or my body's powerful enough to do it. But it is, but that's like saying a Ferrari can drive itself. It's a powerful machine and all that, but it needs us to maintain it. It needs us to take care of certain things. And you got to understand it a little bit. You're not going to put crappy oil in, or, you're going to deal with things differently with a very high end car like that. Well, our bodies are way more higher end than a Ferrari, even, right? They're like this magical machine. And so I was like, every single person talks about these different pieces of the body. And I started pulling it all together for myself because I was like, it only is what makes sense to me. It just seemed common sense to me. And I was like, why does everybody else not get this? And so I was like, look, every single thing that I've ever seen or dealt with, or even for myself, falls under these categories: your DNA, your immune system, your hormones, your physical structure, and the mental emotional component. And for 20 years, I've challenged people when I spoke, anywhere I spoke, and I said, find something that falls in there that doesn't fall in those four or those five categories. Nobody could do it
Right.
because everything falls in that. So, I started doing that, and I would teach people that the right order, the right timing, and knowing the right tools really matters. But my ultimate goal was that I want them to learn how to be savvy consumers, because that's what's missing. Nowadays, people don't realize that all the marketing machines are selling to people based on, like, if you buy that, you're encouraging more marketing that direction, right? The quick fix,
Totally.
everybody wants easy, just give
Everyone
me the
wants
quick
easy.
fix. But then they're pissed when they don't get the results, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
people love to spend years creating an ailment or creating
right.
dysfunction in their body, and then they want it to be fixed the day after
Thank
tomorrow
you.
or yesterday. And it's like, that took years to do that in some cases, and you wanna
I
undo
call
it.
it body damage. Yep,
Yeah.
we call it body debt, and that's literally I can't tell you how many hours I have spent in 20 years educating on that one subject
Yeah, I
because we don't account for that at all.
Right, right. And then I also watch someone like my ex mother in law who is well into her 90s and she still walks 3 to 5 miles every day. And it's because she never stopped moving. And by never
Yep,
stopping moving, it's also been great for her mental health. So she's still sharp as a whip. Like there's still all these pieces that go together. But I'm like, but she's done the work, right? She hasn't just sat around in on the lazy boy with a remote in her hand for the last 10, 20, 30, however many
right,
years. Like she's up and moving. And it's such a symptom of like, hey guys, like if you want to be more mobile, then keep moving. Like it's so simple, but yet it's so
right.
hard. It's so hard for people to do or
It's
to come
crazy,
back
isn't it?
from. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I get it.
Or even when
People
you
are
see people over, right? And it's like, your bones didn't just grow like that. Like it took years of that, but you
right,
didn't care about your posture, right? That's just a
right,
small example, but I watched this over and over. And obviously, with what I did all these years, I saw a lot of suffering. And then when all the whole like body hacking, I've watched a million fads come and go, like
sure.
so many, and the biohacking and all that kind of stuff. Like there's some great things to it, but our bodies are never meant to be hacked. And it doesn't work that way, and it'll never respawn. So I'm not concerned about just getting rid of the ailments or just getting rid of or stopping or silencing the symptoms. Like, I don't want to just fix that. I want what true healing is that you're on the other side of that, where you have health assurance and you're not worried about your health insurance, right? Like, because you understand it and you are so empowered to take care of anything. So you're doing prevention, and you know how to set yourself up in the future, so you're always doing it right. Even when people travel, they have my very, very powerful remedies. A lot of people that used to work with me, that were speakers and did a lot of stuff, and they burn the candle right at both ends. Like that's the name of the game back then. And
Yep.
you always pay a price. The body always taxes us. I always
Yeah.
say the body is kind of like it's like the benevolent IRS. It's like it always comes to collect. We can't escape it. Like we can't trick it. You can't play games with it. So the body debt's a real thing. And I always equate it to money, like a bank account. So if you do all this body debt and you think you've got this $1 million of body debt you got to pay off, and you think you're going to just do it by, oh, I take a little supplement or I do this, that's like putting $1 towards it. Well, how long do you think it's going to take you to pay that off?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like that concept. So when I take people through my process, I do an assessment in the beginning. And the assessment isn't just, oh, hey, everybody's unique. You are, but we all have those 5 systems, no matter what.
Right.
And so it's not about that. It's about like, hey, where are you at right now? That determines how fast you need to go. So sometimes, like, we got to get your vitality up so that you can do these other things. Where a lot of people are like, just go in and do a cleanse or do a detox. It's the worst thing to do because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and your body's not ready for that. So it's really just setting you up, like no different than weight loss. I can teach people how to lose weight like that, but I don't let them do it like that because, like, knowing something as simple as our toxins are stored in our fat tissue, you push that out and you don't know how to capture those toxins, they've now just gone out into your bloodstream and you're starting to brew other things in your body. So, yeah, you might lose weight, you look great. And guess what's happening behind the scenes under the hood?
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a way to do both and set yourself up so it's not just this vanity thing, right? So, anyway, so the part you don't know is that I signed a big TV show deal and I'm getting ready to launch my own show. We're starting to film for it. Well, in that process, I was really like, I was going to have to walk away from Invincible Wellness System. So for the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years, I really agonized. I'm like, this is my baby, and it comes so easy to me. And I have a huge community. For all my graduates are still with me. And I was like, I can't leave this. What am I going to do? And I was like, I have to find a way to take some of the core fundamentals that are the most powerful and put it into a smaller short thing so that like my coaches can help with people, so I can step out of it, but my legacy still lives on. And
Sure.
I'll tell you the funniest thing. I had a miscarriage 2 years ago because I've had insane amount of stress. I had a house fire. I mean, if
Mm,
I say the insane, my capacity is really high. And everybody was like, Maria, one of these things that you're going through, most people would crumble. And I had all of it at the same time. And so, like you
mhm.
just explained in the beginning about, the stress that
Everything
led.
happening at the same time. Yes.
Yeah. And I can handle quite a bit. And this was over the top for me. Like I'm not even going to list them all, but just saying my house fire alone, they're all at that level of intensity that happened at the same
Mm,
time. And
mm,
so I had a miscarriage and I was like, oh, by the way, when they told me I couldn't have children, part of that fighter mentality was, I'm going to figure that out and say like F you to that system.
right.
And
Mm,
like, don't tell people that. Because, if I didn't offset that, do you know how many people that are told things like you only have this long to live? You're going to live that out just because you were told that.
right.
And you're not going to have children. I did almost let it wreck me. I almost let it take my
Mm,
life.
right.
And when I said no, I refused to allow that to be the answer. So I have a 19-year-old, almost a 20-year-old now. And I'm 51, and I have a 5-year-old now. So not only did I have two children, but I also had them at ages that they also tell women, you can't, it's not a good idea, or you can't
Mhm.
have them anymore, or that kind of stuff, right? Again, another thing I'm like, sorry, not accepting that reality. So
That's
I've been a
right.
single mom for 20 years, and that I was like, I don't care. I'm making that happen.
Yeah, I
It was a
love that,
huge deal.
Maria, because I think it's such a good testament for people to hear it and be inspired. Because what has someone told you in the past? And it could be anything, whether it's concerning your health or they say that this is who you are or how you are. How oftentimes do people actually go, okay, I'm just going to believe that. I'm going to accept that that is true. What happens if we decide to not accept it as true? What if we find the resolve to go in and go, what if it's not true? And because there could be some part of it that's not true, let me find what is true for me. And I think that there was a beautiful way for you to energetically even create this life where you have
Totally.
not just not zero children, but multiple children. Like that's a miracle in itself, and it's
I'm
amazing.
actually looking at having another one. So,
Woo, girl.
I might keep
Okay.
going till I'm 60. Who knows?
I love it. I love
But
it.
see,
Yeah,
I don't
but
operate from those confines. Like, I don't even
yeah,
think about age, right? Yeah, it's not a
right,
thing. So, 2 years ago, I was really, for 2 years straight, racked my brain because integrity is the most important thing to me. I have watched, me, I've been behind the scenes with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years. And, I couldn't utilize those relationships for my own business as far as promotion went because of the nature of what I did. So I would be there for other subjects, like I might speak at a finance event or a real estate event or whatever. I was the only health person, but I would watch those people. I know a lot of people, even all the health people, big names, and behind the scenes, they have health issues or they're not what they just got on stage telling their audience and selling them on. And
right.
man, you want to find oh, that is
Same.
like, so my
Yeah.
avatar has always been Xena warrior princess. And so it's funny because even when I used to wear my Xena costume on stage when I started speaking. I look back on that and I go, thank
Great.
goodness I didn't think that through then because I would have never done that. That was ballsy.
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. But it sent the message across that's like, you tell me anything. You tell me anything that's not possible to fix, and I'm going to show you how.
Yeah.
And I've lived it out now for 20 years. But,
Yeah,
I
and
had that
you see people
mentality.
you see people that do, and I think that again that there's an inspiration there to for anyone that's been told they can't recover from a thing or they're not going to, like, this is your moment to really dig deep and decide what you're willing to buy into and what are you available for. In the same
For
way that,
sure.
like I said with COVID, I was like, cancer didn't kill me for sure. This isn't how I'm going out. So it's what are you willing to accept also, like,
Right.
and so much of the time, whether that is the energetics of it, whether it's just how a universal law that maybe not everyone is so aware of. I love that you're out doing these, humanly defying your I don't want to say defying nature, but I think
I
you
know what you
are.
mean.
Yeah, like it's not even defying nature. It's defying what people might believe about nature because they've been told so many things through so much marketing. I remember going through menopause at 41 because I went through medical menopause after having breast cancer. And you still go through all the symptoms, all the things. But what I found is I was like, huh, this is not the intense thing that I thought it was going to be that I have heard about my whole life and also watched some people go through. And
Yeah.
it was fascinating to realize, like, you're right, there is a DNA factor. There's some epigenetics, is how, how it was done before in your family. And there's all these other little key things. And I'm like, overall, I'm super healthy. And I think when you're going into this change, it's also figuring out, like, if my body is at its best, if I'm doing the best I can with it, then will it respond? And I felt like
Yeah.
I didn't go through those normal things that are constantly advertised. And I went, tell me, for the people that are really experiencing the extreme part of this, what other ailments do they have? Because my
Yeah.
guess is that it's it's something else also. And it could be a stack, and it
Always.
could even just be the emotional stack. And I think that's actually a really big one that most people don't talk about. And kudos to you for being in a school that teaches you both the kind of Eastern and Western side of things, because
I was
I've
teaching
known,
them.
yeah, yeah, I've
That's what
known
it ended
so
up
many.
being, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I get it." They were revealing that that model doesn't work because they knew Chinese medicine, they knew homeopathy, they knew whatever they were teaching.
Yeah.
But those aren't those none of those ancient things were meant for what we're dealing with now. They didn't have what we're dealing with now
Right.
2000 years ago, 200 years ago even. So it's
Yeah.
a different ball game. So when we take these ancient healing modalities, you got to bring them into what we're dealing with now. And I also don't rely on those. I rely on the body to do the foundational work. So when I had that miscarriage a year ago, like, part of why I wanted to have those babies too, I realized, like, for me, is I like to pave the way. Like, I like to forge the way for other people. And that's that warrior princess kind of mentality. I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out because I don't like that they tell other people this, I don't like the
Mhm.
torture I've heard from my friends and women, all the craziness, even menopause, the big bad beast, it's coming to get you. And we live under this fear when we're 30 of like, oh my gosh, I'm scared of menopause, and all that. I mean, really, it's like crazy what gets drilled, especially women. But I deal with a lot of men too with that kind of stuff. So I totally agree with you. Their symptoms just come out different, they express
Right.
differently,
They
but
express
it's
differently.
always the same. It's no different than any cancer. When you understand cancer at its deep core, you really know how to head it off at the pass. You know how to deal with it differently. And, that's another big thing that has massive fear component to it. And
Yeah.
fear is such a driver. It's such a driver. So if I can help people not have that fear by empowering them, then I'm sending people on that trajectory where they're not using either system. And that's really my goal, is like
Mm.
Invincible Wellness System is a system so that you have not Western medicine and you don't have holistic medicine. You have your own system,
Mm.
and legitimately that's all they need. So integrity is such a big deal to me that I was like, I could never break up my system because I always taught you can't heal anything without doing everything. And so that was my big struggle in the
Mm.
last 2 years of like, what can I do here? And because of the menopause, I'm sorry, because of the miscarriage, it sent me into this, like, I was pissed and I was just like exhausted because of all the stress going on. I kind of let myself go. Well, the ironic, funny thing about this is this in January, I flew to California to get my hair done because I love my guy there. I've been going to for 20 years and I moved away. And I moved to a very small town and there's not a lot of resources here, just to be nice about it. And I flew back in January and I sat in the chair and he calls me Whaler and he's like, Whaler. And he looks down and he goes, what's with all this gray hair? And I was like, and it just really like stopped me in my tracks because that stuff isn't, I'm not a vanity kind of person. I've never done any Botox, plastic surgery. Everything I've ever done with my hair is organic. I don't touch a chemical to my body. So I'm kind of all natural, but I don't tend to look like it. So people don't always believe me, you know? And I'm like, no, really, I don't do that. So I never have. So I didn't care generally about the gray hair that was coming in, but I wasn't paying attention to how bad it was. And
Mm.
he didn't just say that. He stopped and he went, no, I'm serious. And he's like a brother to me, so he can get away with saying these things. And he goes, no, like, Maria, I'm serious. Like, what's going on? And I remember sitting and looking in the mirror that whole time he's doing my hair. And I went, this reminds me of that moment that I said, I'm going to figure this out. And there was two things that happened. One
Mhm.
is I was like, F gray hair, I'm going to figure this out. And everybody says it's impossible to heal it, right? And the second thing was, thank you, God. That was such a great communication because I haven't had an ailment in 25 years. I would have never even cared if he didn't say that and like highlight that for me. Hey, here, something's going on. I went, you're right. It's always an internal job. It's an internal and external, but it's about 80% internal. And
Right.
I've dealt with bodies, so I'm saying this from a lot of patterns and repetition and experience of things. And so when I left there, I was like, I looked at him and I said, I know you didn't believe me before because I had joked about figuring it out. And I go, I'm figuring it out. I'll see you when I figure it out. I'll see you next when I do. Well, I just flew there this last week, ironically, just got my hair done by him. 8 months later, it's been 40 years that I have ever gone more than 5 weeks without getting my hair done. Mostly because my hair grows so fast. And like if he puts a little highlights in it, my hair grows so fast it would show. And my hair is extremely thick. So for me, 5 weeks, I hate getting my hair done. It takes so long. I don't like doing it, right? And so I just went 8 months without getting my hair done because I was determined to reverse my gray hair. And so I did. And we just filmed it all. This just got done, but I don't have any left. This is totally not colored. This is natural. And I walked in, and the video alone, just his facial reaction, he was dead serious. Like he looked going, no, there's no way. I said, I took pictures along the way. So, in that process of what I just did, I feel like I cracked the code to everything. And for me to say, I just started a master class. It's called Primal Protocol. And I did that for the last 8 months with my audience. And I said, here, I want to test out everything that I think I came up with in the last 2 years that I could use to keep my Invincible Wellness going, my legacy going without compromising, losing anything. It's not
Mm.
as expensive as like teaching you how to be a dentist and pharmacy, but this, I narrowed it down. I did it with them because I knew I needed to get back on track. Right. So I was like, perfect. I finally have some ailments, like something to work with that I can see a difference, really. Like you could go drink some green juice that came out on the market and you're going to think, if you never had anything good or you were a McDonald's diet type person, you're going to be like, this stuff's amazing. But it's because of the contrast. People always think that they don't know how to discern that, right? They think it's because of the product. No, it's because you just finally got some nutrients, right? You felt it. Doesn't mean long term that's good for you. And so when I study products and I investigate, I go so hard on it. I put myself through it. I don't ever recommend a thing until I've put myself through it. And so I did this whole primal protocol. It rocked my world and it rocked everybody's world. So now that's all we've been doing. I've been getting that up to speed so that I can step away eventually. So I'm doing like 2 more master classes just to get the recordings and to work with some people who aren't grads because I'm like, I want to be with people who don't know me. I want to do that again. And I'm telling you, if I even told you the changes that it did and the things it did for everybody, you wouldn't even believe me. Like literally. And for me to say that is a lot because it was like everybody's hormones completely rock solid. So when you do these, and I call it the motherboard. So like your
Mm,
computer, you don't take your motherboard out unless you're building a computer, but in general, we don't you can't really change certain things on a motherboard because those are hard coded.
mhm,
You could take a hard drive, swap it out, but motherboard is hard coded. These are the hard codings of the body. And when people did these aspects, and I was obviously handholding them so they couldn't fudge, where in IWS, it's like, do this, and then I got to just trust they're going to go implement. There's a lot more accountability in this. So I was really like on track with them. People's sleep issues, their pains, their ailments, people off medications. Bioidenticals has become the new fad. We're going to have serious issues in a year or two from the backlash of that. That is not the way to fix your hormones. Um, I I like the last month, I have a private aviation catering company as well, and we were really swamped with it. I, for 4 weeks, could barely be on track with my stuff. My
mm,
body continued to lose weight. My muscles have changed into looking like I went to the gym and was sculpting them.
hmm,
They're literally sculpting on their own. And I actually went and did an in-body thing just to have some kind of thing. In 3 weeks, I increased my muscle density and I lost fat. And they were like, we never see those two happen together in that short of a time. And so I did it on purpose to get a little snapshot when I first was testing it all out. 80% of this, I had so many wrinkles. I was like, it was getting crazy, like so bad. And I'm the youngest of five. So for me, I've been the baby of the family. So I was like, this aging thing, I'm not up for it. Like, I'm still going to I want to look 30. So I got rid of my wrinkles about 80% from what it was as well. And this is a lot of these things are what are leading women to get cancer, is the things
mm,
we're for these things. And if I can reduce people's risk by 80, 90%, that's a huge that drives me, right? That
mm,
a warrior princess out of me. I mean, the amount of energy and mental clarity, and like obviously you're losing weight safely as well, but people were losing so much, but it didn't matter. I've had a lot of people get pregnant because I help them with fertility stuff. But as women, our hormones are not about menopause. Menopause is like running a marathon. That's like the finish line. Menopause. We had the entire other thousands of miles before that that lead up to that, right?
right,
So
right,
there are a lot of people who don't have a lot of symptoms but get cancer because it moves somewhere else. So if we
mm,
don't know how to nourish our hormones over the years, there's so many women, right? And after you have a baby, there's a reason that people have postpartum depression. It's
mm,
because of that crash in our
crash.
hormones.
That's
And
right.
so yeah, so I've had a lot of women change the fertility situation, but then have healthy babies because that's important if you set your body up right, and then not set their body up to where they don't get postpartum, or I can pull you out of that quickly. But it's all based on how we govern our hormones for our whole life. So when we wait until perimenopause or menopause, great, you can change it, but again, that body debt, you have a little bit more to do because we didn't take care of it before. If you had a
Right,
baby, you replenish those hormones, or they just keep going like this, right?
right, right.
So
So,
this is
Maria,
so go
I,
ahead.
I want to ask only because our we're coming to our time. We're getting
Yeah.
close, and this is so juicy. And I know there are people that are
Okay.
like, I want to stop having gray hair. I want to reduce my
I know.
wrinkles. I want to build muscle without having to go to the gym for 3 hours every day. And so my question for you is, how do the people get access to to you, and how do they get access to learning and understanding how to heal the body?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing a bit of an interview process with this, not to be snobbish, but because I want to make sure it's a good fit for people.
Mm.
Because on this round, I've done it differently. I'm including my anti-aging stuff in it, which is huge. And I'm including my fitness stuff in there because if I look at Mary D, your age, your hormone, your history, and everything, I'm going to tell you exactly what workouts you should be doing for you. And when you combine that with the primal protocol stuff and then the anti-aging, all of it comes together. So I decided to kind of make it power packed on this one. And so people can come in if they're on a medication or they have ailments, which I didn't do that before, because that's my expertise. And, there's people doing carnivore diets and circadian rhythm. They're all great, but it's not going to get you set up safely so that you don't have that rob Peter to pay Paul situation. And
Mm.
this is going to continue long term because you're changing those hard coatings. So honestly, Mary, I'm going to say, like, I don't know, give them my email address. They can email us personally. My team will handle it, but we're not doing a big thing. It's really like intimate and that. But I was thinking about it because I was like, I want to give your audience something, and it sounds silly to just do this, but I really mean it. And like they can use $500 credit towards doing the whole primal protocol, or they can just do the anti-aging masterclass. I've got a million other masterclasses that aren't. This is the mother load. This is the, like, you want to fix everything. The cool thing about it is it got us to the point where you barely have to take many supplements. You don't have to do a lot of management. Like, it's amazing. Most people are doing that. They burn the candle, they got to take a bunch of adrenal stuff, right?
Right.
It's not like this. This hard coating just locked in. I mean, people are like, how do I get my hair to grow like yours? This is how. Your libido, even the cellulite on my legs, 80% gone. I did that in just 6 weeks. Like, it was amazing to witness. That's not what drives me. I care more that people don't get cancer and don't have to go through those horrible things in life. That's really the bigger picture for me. But, hey, if these are the side effects, I'll take it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you can, I don't
Beautiful.
know if you want me to just say my email, or in
Yeah.
fact, I can do
Throw
it
it
here.
out there and we'll throw it in the show notes as well.
Okay, cool. We'll use info at intentionalnetwork.com. So intentional, not international, but being intentional about your health as if your life depends on it. So intentionalnetwork.com. So info at. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
it. I mean,
Awesome. I love
it's
it.
really been fun.
Y'all, if you want to get in touch with Maria, just check out the show notes. We're going to put all of this information in there. And you can also pop down into the comment section and you will see all of the ways to get the goods. I want to let you know also, Maria and I are not done. We actually are going to go do a little segment for YouTube right after this, and it'll be there on the Mad Love Your Life channel. So for those of you that want even more, we're going to dive in just a little bit more, only because we are out of time today on
Oh, good.
Bold Brave. And with that, Maria, thank you. We are not done yet today, and I'm so
No, I'm
excited
having you
about
on my show.
pop. Yes, I'm so excited about us going to the other channel and just having an extended version conversation, because I think so many people are, eyes wide open right now, ears wide open, going, "Oh wow, there's so much that's possible." And I also want to throw out there for those of you that are like, "Gray hair is normal." If you want to embrace it, go for it. And also, if there's a way to keep your hair your natural color and that feels good for you, well, Marie's letting you know it's possible. And so just remember that we are here to be superhuman. We can do more than we think we can so much of the time. And my friend Maria is just really a testament to that. So Maria, thank you for sharing your gold with us today. And everyone, until next time, may abundance always walk beside you. May joy always go before you. And may love always guide you on your path. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave TV. We hope to see you back next week. For more ways to connect with my guests, content, programs, and retreats, just head over to www.marydee.com and subscribe. That's MARYDEE.com.